I find it incredibly interesting how people outside of other communities act when faced with problems not in their own community. I also find it incredibly interesting how people react to criticism, how everyone seems to take it as an attack. And to a certain extent, I get it, because a lot of people, it seems, don't know how to just give criticism and end up insulting or saying it in a condescending or just rude tone. And tone does matter. I'm not saying tone police, I'm just saying tone does matter. See what I mean? I also find it incredibly interesting how people in positions of power don't seem to want to acknowledge that they are. And by position of power, I just mean exactly that, a position of power, that you have power over other people. This could be being a manager, just being in a position of power over someone else. There you go. Almost no one wants to admit that they have a position of power. And then when they do, it's almost always forced. They're like, I do realize my privilege. Or they only acknowledge their privilege when it's in a good light. And then when it comes to bad things, they're like, no. What is it? Position of power? Privilege? What's that? And I do realize that this is kind of a weird start to the video, but bear with me, it matters. While this video is about the widespread issue of said title, I will be talking a lot about Lauren, whatever her last name is. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, because it really is just a good example, and probably the most recent example. It only happened like a few days ago, or what I'm going to talk about mainly happened a few days ago. But she's been she makes weird tweets sometimes. It's very interesting how whenever someone in the LGBTQ plus community brings up an issue with their community, whether it's, in the community or, people outside the community, including them or whatever, they're always told they're shoving it in people's faces. Because obviously that's not shoving it in someone's face. You're literally just bringing up an issue within the community. But the thing is, when you're homophobic, any kind of mention of the community is shoving it in their faces. The Great Twitter Peace Accord has been fun, and I hope will continue for a long time. Also, my open-minded, reach across the aisle, debate-welcoming self is a triple-vaxxed feminist BLM liberal who lives in Hollywood, so adjust your expectations accordingly. Now, a lot of people, including myself, found this just inappropriate. It's a very weird comment to make. She previously had tweeted about how one of her children found a video or article or something along the lines of someone essentially just hating her, because there's giving criticism, pointing things out, calling someone out, and then there's hating someone. And the thing is that you can do all of those at the same time, but you will still be hating on someone, and it is still harmful, and it will erase whatever good points that you had. Anytime someone in the community wants representation, says, I need representation, you haven't given us any representation. And in Lauren's case, she promised that she would. And yet, I don't think queer baiting is the word. I don't think that would be the appropriate word to use here. But she has several times said, oh, we were going to make this character bisexual, but didn't. Oh, we were going to show that Siri had a crush on Tris, but we didn't. We cut it out because it wasn't appropriate. And several other things. That feels very queerbaity to me, and that's not okay. You're telling a minority who needs representation, don't worry, we're going to give it to you, but we decided to take it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Why does it have to be like perfect scenario, perfect setting? They're just gay. Like, it's just so strange to me. Things have to be like perfect for them to add a character from the community, like in the entire community. And there are a lot of letters. But there's this specific dumb, stupid issue. Every single time gay people ask for representation, they are always told, why can't men just be friends anymore? Which makes absolutely zero sense. And I'm actually going to use this specific example to show you.
there's this very interesting line that Jaskier says about his relationship with Geralt. It came from the heart, perhaps a broken one. So do you feel that you could kind of read it as a coming out moment for the character? Or what were kind of your intentions or writers' intentions when including that in the script? What kind of discussions you had about it?
Not at all a coming out moment. I think one of my favorite things about the Jaskier and Geralt relationship is that we get to present male friendship in a way that it's not normally presented on screen. We talked a lot about this in the writer's room, which is if I had a girlfriend, my best friend since I was growing up, and suddenly she abandoned me.
What a day.
Damn it, Jaskier! If life could give me one blessing, it would be to take you off my hands.
Right then. See you around, Geralt.
My heart would be broken. And yet we have trouble sort of relating that to male friendships. And I truly believe that we were able to look at masculinity in a different way in this series. So we obviously have Geralt, who is typical idea of masculinity. He's big, he could fight, he's muscular. And then we have Jaskier, who presents this new kind of masculinity, which is there's a sensitivity there. And certainly a kind of gentleness. And it's what I love about their friendship is because they bring out the other side in one another. So absolutely not. Do I think that Jaskier's heart is broken? Yes. I think it's because his best friend abandoned him. And I really wanted to dig into that because it felt very real.
So, yeah, that happened. I'm actually going to jump right back into another article that addresses it. When we asked Lauren directly about the homoerotic undertones of Jaskier's relationship with Geralt, she too said that there aren't any. It's a side of male friendship that we don't talk about a lot, right? She said. I don't think there are any homoerotic undertones for those characters, but I do think that when you talk about girlfriends, people have no problem saying I love my girlfriend, or I would do anything for her, or if we got into a fight and she didn't want to see me anymore, my heart would be broken. It was important for me to take that same sense and apply it to a male friendship to be able to say, oh, that kind of friendship can exist between men as well. And that directly equates to the phrase, why can't men just be friends? Why can't men be friends anymore? Why does it have to be gay? Why can't men just be friends? Well, first off, I would like to say referring to your friend as a girlfriend is directly harmful to the community. And that's why it's so hard for people to view women loving women as such. That's why it's so hard for people to see lesbians as lesbians, rather than they just haven't been with a man yet, or they have to be bisexual or something and they can't just be lesbian. That's why there's a whole meme about how they were just friends. Yeah, it's the meme of historians say that they were just friends, when they could literally say, I love you from the depths of my heart, you're my girlfriend. That could literally just be translated in someone's brain as they were just friends. That is directly harmful to the community. Stop doing that. And how dare you say those words while literally addressing a queer issue? You're literally answering a queer question, and then you refer to your friend as a girlfriend. Ooh, tone deaf? Yeah, I think so. Inappropriate? Yeah, 100%. And I actually tweeted about this a little while ago when the YouTube video, I guess, got attention on Twitter, and I think it's important, so here it is. I know queer people's feelings when it comes to this are ignored and looked over, but they never will understand how much it hurts when they say these things the way that they do. Quote, they're just friends. Yeah, we all know that, but they have to take it farther, and it's coring. It's a sinking feeling. It makes you start to feel gross for even thinking of queerness where it wasn't intended, which is heartbreaking for people who don't get representation to feel. It's the emphasis on just friends, that's it, nothing more, definitely not coming out. This happened to me a bit after season 1 when I looked at the comments of a Jaskier video and the majority were people being incredibly homophobic while mentioning they're only friends. It cored me and I cried for days. I felt nasty. I felt gross. I felt hopeless. And that's now been brought back. Thanks, guys. Just thanks. I'm tired of feeling sensitive and overdramatic about this. It hurts me and a lot of other people, and that pain matters. I'm just so tired. All my passion is gone for this season. It makes you feel sick. It seems so small and insignificant to them, but it destroys a lot of people. I'm tired of seeing myself as weak for getting hurt by this. It devastates me. It hurts me like few other things do. It debilitates me for days, but they don't care. And that's one of the really important things that I don't think people outside the community will understand. Your little comments can make all the difference in good and bad ways. When you are in a position of power and talking about minority, you need to be very careful on what you say. Though, if you support the minorities, then you don't really have to be careful. So if you have to be super careful or say things like this, you probably just don't support them. And no, believing that people should just have the right to survive is not supporting someone. If you were to compare representation of male friendships and representation of gay male relationships, male friendship representation would win by a long shot. It's so very tone deaf to say things like this, and it makes it seem like you don't care at all. And to be honest, I think that that's the case. But before you decide to get defensive and upset about this isn't about you. This isn't about your feelings. You don't get to be defensive about this. You get to be quiet and learn. You get to be quiet and listen. Sometimes, even when things upset us, our feelings aren't the most important thing at the time. In this situation, your feelings don't matter. The situation matters. The whole situation that we're talking about, the whole issue matters more than your feelings. This issue has been prevalent for years upon years upon years, and we're seeing no change. And it's directly hurting an entire community of people. Like, no, your feelings don't really matter here. And the thing is that you really just outed yourself. She places such a big, giant importance on male friendship representation, as if it's never been done before, emphasizes how important it is, and then makes the relationship unhealthy. If you look at any other adaptation, whether the books or the games or whatnot, Geralt and Jaskier are very close. Geralt has no problems showing his feelings for Jaskier, which is a close, deep friendship. Geralt very much loves Jaskier. They are very close. And yet in the show, let me ask you this. How is this a good representation of male friendship? You're essentially showing that in a male friendship, at least one has to be aggressive and mean. And for what? Geralt is insistent that they're not friends. Literally saying that.
It is one way of bodyguarding your very best friend in the whole wide world. How hard could it be?
I'm not your friend.
Making it seem like a burden to be around him.
How's my singing?
It's like ordering a pie and finding it has no filling.
Constantly acts like he's annoyed and doesn't care about him. Literally says, you know, I'll put it on the screen.
Damn it, Jaskier! Why is it whenever I find myself in a pile of shit these days, it's you shoveling it?
That's not fair.
The child surprise, the gin, all of it. If life could give me one blessing, it would be to take you off my hands.
Yeah, I say that to my friends all the time. And I also just remembered that I tweeted another relevant tweet to the conversation. It was relevant to the conversation. It is relevant. This is the tweet. I don't want to be told, no, I'm not homophobic. I want proof. I want my and many others' concerns to not be pushed aside, but to be addressed and listened to. I don't know. I'm just tired. And honestly, probably done with The Witcher. And then I also said something that I think is relevant as well. Genuine question. Do you think directors should make people lose interest in a series? Or is that a sign of giant failure? Of course, it's not just her. It's unfortunately people I genuinely liked and cared about, but everyone lets you down eventually, right? Only human. And I realized that it sounded sassy at the end. But it was serious. It is sassy and serious. Because unfortunately, the man who plays Jaskier, Joey Beatty, also decided to very quickly speak on it.
Geralt and Jaskier's friendship, and it is a friendship, and that's all it is.
See, the thing is that was an entirely unnecessary comment. Them bringing it up shows that it has been brought to their attention and they are aware of the ship. It is clear as day that they're just friends, and we know this. That's the other thing, is that you're making it seem like we're forcing an agenda on you, like we're forcing something onto you. I'm going to tell you something right now that's going to blow your mind, that's going to shock you. The majority of people who have gay ships that they like don't expect to see it on screen. And that's actually really sad, really, really, really sad, because they get no representation. So they find characters they think have good chemistry and ship them together and never expect to see it ever on screen because they know that they won't get it. And a lot of the time, they actually don't even want to see it on screen because they don't think it would make sense in the story. And notice how I said the majority, not all. Of course, there are people who, I don't know, that expect to see it on screen but would like to. But also, what's the problem with that? You are demonizing people for wanting representation that they don't get. And it's really easy to look over how important representation is when you're given it, when you've always been given it. And people make it seem like you have to walk on eggshells when you talk about the community or when you're talking about gay people or whatever. But the thing is that you only have to walk on eggshells if you're homophobic. Because I've been asked several times, well, what did you want her to say? Great question. Because I'm not even going to tell you what I would want her to say because someone already said it. Mark Hamill put it best when he said, fans are writing and ask all these questions. I'm bullied in school. I'm afraid to come out. They say to me, could Luke be gay? I'd say it is meant to be interpreted by the viewer. If you think Luke is gay, of course he is. You should not be ashamed of it. Judge Luke by his character, not by who he loves. And he also said a similar thing about bisexual people. That was so beautifully put, so incredibly quickly. It wasn't forced. It was genuine, and you could tell. It was like 2 sentences, and it was perfect. It didn't exclude anyone. It was literally perfect. Do you want to know why? Because he's not homophobic. And people are always so quick to freak out when they're called homophobic. But the thing is, if a person in the community is calling you homophobic and you're not in said community, if you cared at all about said community, you'd shut up and listen. The only thing you'd be saying is, I'm so sorry. How can I make it better? What did I do wrong? I don't know, man. I'm just tired. I'm just so tired. And that's another thing. We're tired of this. And this isn't even really about me. Like, it is because it's about queer issues. But I'm not a man in a gay relationship. Can you imagine how they feel? They are demonized so heavily. Saying like lesbians or women loving women, while doesn't really have representation or good representation, they are not demonized even close to as heavily as gay men are. Of course, they both have their issues, but gay men are the most to be in danger out of the two of them. And once again, I will reiterate, this is not about you and your feelings. This is a very big issue that should be taken seriously, and if you care about the community, you will take it seriously. It's not the time to talk. It's time to be quiet and listen. And another big thing is, they're asking for representation. A lot of people aren't even asking for Geralt and Jaskier to be together in the show. They're just asking for Jaskier to be queer, which would make a lot of sense, seeing as how he's a slut. And that's what the majority of people in the community who are fans of The Witcher are asking for, is for Jaskier to be queer in the show. They are asking for bare minimum representation, but the thing is, I won't stand for it. If you're just going to give me one quick comment of, oh, he seduces kings and queens. No. Unacceptable. That is not representation. That is an out. To say that you gave representation without actually giving it. So to place this incredibly heavy importance on male friendship when they're just asking for a queer character between 2 male friends heavily implies that there can't be a straight friend and a gay friend who are just friends. And my friend on Twitter actually said something that I thought was very accurate. It gives off that vibe when you tell a straight person you're gay and they go, oh, don't start liking me. The sexualization of queerness made by straight people is just annoying. And honestly, they actually have a lot of really good points. And again, anytime someone brings up issues with straight people giving representation for the community, you're that gay person who wants to make everything gay, or you're harassing her, or you're a hater. Like, no, this is an important situation, an important problem that you're actively ignoring. And that's the thing. With her specifically, she is very actively ignoring it, because she will debate people on Twitter about things, and then the second that they bring up LGBTQ issues, suddenly she's unavailable. Suddenly she's not available to talk anymore. Suddenly she's gone from the conversation. An example is from the other day. Some very lovely person on Twitter said, open-mindedness holds little value when you don't listen to what's being shared. You've got a lot of commas and adjectives in there, but the only things you've shown us to be true are that you're a vaxxed, debate-welcoming person who lives in Hollywood. She responded and said, that's an interesting take, though I'm not sure who the us is here or what I'm ignoring. Anyways, the lovely person then said, the us is referencing the collective audience of your platform. I wish I had more characters to detail this, but I feel as though many important things have been brought to attention that an open-minded person / writer would discuss and be willing to change their stance on. Lauren then says, "The season is out in this world. I cannot change it, but I have engaged in a lot of conversations about what worked and what didn't, and as always, I take these thoughts into the next season. It's not about stance, it's about practical shifts moving forward." Then the person said, "I wasn't suggesting that you could or should change it, as I know what's out is out. I apologize, I should have specified that I was talking about the next season and mistakes that hopefully aren't repeated. By stance, I mean willing to take constructive criticism from all areas. It's not just about what does and doesn't work. It's also about things that weren't included or represented that should have been. The issues go from LGBTQ rep to whitewashing to ableism, etc. I know we aren't the ones in writing rooms, but we notice things that they don't sometimes." And the thing is, she literally just said, "I don't know what it is that I'm ignoring," and then goes on to ignore the issue. And she's not addressed the issue at all. She's addressed a few other issues, but she's not touched on this issue at all. The only thing she said about the LGBTQ community is to say that Geralt and Jaskier definitely aren't in that community. And the thing is she told us that she would give us representation in season 2 as well, and then didn't. And finally, one viewer asked the showrunner if we would see LGBTQ themes in the second season, to which she responded positively, "One of my favorite things about the books is that they are full of subversion," she affirmed. "Yes, we're going to represent. Given the success of the show, this is wonderful news and avows the continent as a multiracial and non-normative fantasy world." So, she lied. She told us that apparently she was going to make Lambert bisexual, then just changed her mind and said no. She was going to give us queer representation for Ciri, since she's sapphic in the books, and then decided not to. And whether intentionally or unintentionally, she's queer-coded Jaskier. He may not be queer, he may just be the way he is as a man, and that's fine. But the thing is, usually when men are portrayed, how Jaskier is portrayed, they are not straight. Whether intentional or not, Jaskier was queer-coded. And then when it's brought up, it's not addressed well. And then you out yourself for... It's homophobic. It's very homophobic. That's what I'm going to say. It's very homophobic. You need to check yourself. If you say that you're not homophobic, but the community is calling you so, maybe you're the one in the wrong here. And maybe you need to reevaluate a lot of things. And it isn't just talking about the LGBTQ community. Almost no one feels safe to voice their opinion because of how you're reacting. And why should the LGBTQ plus community fear your responses? If you say that you're not homophobic, you really need to check yourself. Because people in the community are calling you out, saying that you're acting like it, and you're not listening. Why are people who have genuine concerns and just want representation, who literally just have concerns, aren't hating, aren't even giving constructive criticism, but just have concerns, want to bring things to your attention, why do they have to fear your responses? That, in my opinion, is a sign of a bad writer. People shouldn't fear speaking to you. People shouldn't lose their interest in the show because of you. And this isn't even just about her. This goes for anyone and everyone acting the same way that she is. This behavior is not okay or acceptable at all. And yet I'm sure that you're going to jump straight to being defensive. Someone on Twitter literally said, "Afraid to post my thoughts on The Witcher Netflix Season 2 because I'm even more afraid that Lauren will see it and respond to it while trying to justify herself and what she's written without being truly willing to learn." But that was put absolutely beautifully and absolutely correctly. People are afraid that you're not willing to learn and that you don't care about them when you are insisting otherwise, so clearly you're doing something wrong. And then another person said, "Honestly, I've been feeling the same way recently. At first I was fine talking about my opinions, but after she responded to a person here in the fandom rudely, I'm now very hesitant." I would be so sad if people felt this way about me, if they had genuine concerns about the representation and just concerns, but they were afraid because I was acting inappropriately. Embarrassing. They then also said, "The fact fans are scared to voice their opinions about Season 2 because Lauren may reply all sarcastically and then play the victim is actually ridiculous." Moral of the story. It's two things. One, Lauren, you need to get your head out of your ass and listen. You need to do a lot less of talking, zip it, and listen. You had your chance to speak. Now people want to speak to you, but you're not letting them because you're too busy being defensive. You're not always right. And they're pointing out how you're not in the right here, and they need you to listen, and you refuse to do so because of your pride? Also, Mark Hamill never had a problem with it because, as he said, I'd say it is meant to be interpreted by the viewer. It's just so strange to feel the need to include and or explain how characters definitely aren't anything but straight. By going out of your way to prove how homosexual they aren't, you are implying that media isn't meant to be used for the viewer's imagination, that people aren't supposed to view it differently, have different outlooks. You are implying that this content is only for straight people. Moral of the story too. If you're scared that gay people are pushing their agenda, if you're scared that male friendships are being erased because men can't just be friends anymore, it has to be gay, everything that I've said in this video addressing that, you're just homophobic. You're just homophobic and a really crappy person because there's really no reason to be homophobic. You're weird. But yeah, that's the moral of the story, I think. Just don't be garbage. I don't think it's that hard. And as I addressed previously in the video, I think I said it. When you are in a position of power, you need to choose the words that you say carefully. You need to realize that you are in a position of power and can thus affect others' lives, just like Lauren can, and yet doesn't seem to realize, to see how important that is. But whatever. People are weird. I'm sick of it. I'm tired and I'm sick of it, and I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm tired of it, and I'm not going to stop talking about it because no one else is talking about it, or not enough people. So I'm so tired, and I'm going to keep talking about it, unfortunately, but not today. You know the drill. Be a good person, not a bad one. And I won't see you, but you'll see me next time, I guess.
Fuck off, bud. Fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.